Hello everyone, welcome to Madridista Notes. Yesterday was the deadline day for the winter transfer market, the January transfer window for clubs all over the world except Real Madrid. For Real Madrid fans and Real Madrid board, Real Madrid management, for everyone, it was just another Tuesday. And the reason for it is something like there are people who believe in some things and there are people who don't believe in some things, but when it's intangible, it's a tangible thing, like you can see it in front of your eyes, people tend to believe. But for some reason Real Madrid board doesn't believe in the January transfer window. And it's not something that I am saying, it came out in reports that Real Madrid board doesn't believe in the January transfer window, January transfer market. They believe it doesn't do any good to the team, and so the clubs who make these transfers, like they don't know anything. Only the Real Madrid board are the people smart enough. They are the all-knowing people who knows better than most of the football world, because they put this mid-season window to plug some holes, and if you have some emergencies, to take care of those emergencies with some signings. That's the reason that they put this mid-season transfer window. If it was not necessary, it was an unnecessary, really bogus stuff. It wouldn't be called the January transfer window. It wouldn't be called the winter transfer window. They would just do the summer transfer window and that would be that. But people do business, and people's season totally changes after doing business in January transfer window. Just last season Barcelona were in real shit, but in the January market they brought in a couple of players, and one of those players were Aubameyang, or their striker position. And Aubameyang scored some crucial goals for Barcelona. And at one time, Barcelona looked to be getting kicked out of the Champions League places from the league because they were struggling. But Aubameyang's goals secured them a nice, cushy second place finish in the league. And what does it tell you? I don't know. Real Madrid board doesn't believe in January transfer market, but Barcelona's board believes, and Barcelona reaped the benefit last season. A couple of seasons ago, Manchester United was suffering. They were having a lot of troubles in the season, and they went out and bought Bruno Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon, and he totally transformed their season. They became from a struggling team to one of the most informed teams. And there are many, 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 many examples like that. But Real Madrid board doesn't believe in January transfer market. It's because they cannot plan properly. They think sorry, to be honest, they think they are the best of the planners. Their plan was already set in during the summer transfer window. They believe their idea, their plans, their whatever they do, that the team that they set up, the planning of the team, they think it doesn't need anything else for this season. And this overconfidence of theirs, this arrogance of theirs came from winning the La Liga and Champions League last season, which was totally up to Carlo Ancelotti and the players, not the board. The team wasn't that good to win those two competitions. In La Liga, we didn't have any competition, so it made it easier for us. In Champions League, the team's mentality, their um, confidence, the mentality came, and they just came back again and again, remontadas again and again. We saw that we were not really, when we somehow rescued the match in the second half of the second legs of the matches. It was really, we were in every single knockout match other than the final. We were going out at some point of the match, and then somehow we rescued it. The team played so magnificently. They just rescued the ties, and it was just some extraordinary stuff from the Real Madrid team. That's it. And so right now, this board thinks that after they brought in Chouameni and sold Casemiro, so they didn't improve the midfield. It's the same midfield with Cruz and Modric 1 year older, with prime Casemiro sold and a young Chouameni plugged in. So they didn't make the midfield improve the midfield. In attack, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Benzema, Mariano, Hazard, Asensio. They didn't improve the attack. It's the same attack as last season with Benzema a year older. Even though he is keeping his scoring form going on after the World Cup. Before the World Cup, he was struggling with his fitness, and it was understandable why he would struggle with his fitness because he played a lot of matches, every single match for Real Madrid, because we didn't have any alternative. We had Mariano and Jovic who were just useless to the core. So Benzema had to play every match. In defense, they brought in Rudiger. That's it. So they only improved the depth of the center half position, but they after they let go Marcelo, they didn't plug that gap. No one was brought in as a competition to Mendy. They thought that Alaba and Nacho will compete when Alaba and Nacho will back Mendy up when he is not available, injured. And in the right back position, they didn't sell Odriozola, they didn't send him on loan. And we have Carvajal, who is a finished player. I would say he doesn't have the physical capabilities anymore to play in a top level club, and Vasquez, who is not a right back. So I don't expect anything from him in that position anyway. So, in a whole, we didn't improve on last season's mm, team. I would say the quality decreased by a little bit. A little bit. But it's the same. And Barcelona, you can see in the summer transfer window, they added much needed quality and depth into their team. In the Spanish Super Cup match, when you look at Barcelona's bench and you look at Real Madrid's bench, no one could believe it's a Real Madrid bench. It's threadbare. It's totally bones to the bones. You don't cannot. Carlo Ancelotti doesn't rely on Hazard, doesn't rely on Mariano, doesn't rely on Odriozola, doesn't rely on Vallejo. Four players in that squad that Carlo Ancelotti doesn't rely on. So they're useless to Carlo Ancelotti. That is the depth of Real Madrid's bench and squad. So you have a squad, a team of 15, 16 players who are being used really extensively and who are struggling with form, with physical shape, with physical problems, and with lots of minutes playing every 3 days. You'd expect a board, a management who care about winning to go into this transfer market. And even if you don't want to make long-term commitments, you go for short-term commitments for some loan deals. Loan deals happen in the winter transfer market. Manchester United's player Eriksen got injured last week, and it came out that he won't be fit until April. Just like our player Mendy, who won't be fit until April. They went out and got a player on loan from Bayern Munich, Marcel Sabitzer, deadline day. So they plugged the gap. They had a huge gap opening in their squad. They plugged the gap. They're backing their manager. Our first choice fullback, left back goes injured, where and we don't bring anything. The reports came out that Cancelo, Manchester City's fullback Cancelo, he has problems with Pep Guardiola. He wants to move away, and he offered himself to Real Madrid. He offered himself to Bayern Munich, to the big clubs. To be honest, Real Madrid said no, even though we are in an emergency from the fullback position. Our fullbacks are mostly injured. Carvajal is an injury-prone player. Mendy is injured again. He is not. His fitness record is not that great. He gets injured regularly too. Cancelo is a player who can play right back, who can play left back. So you can easily plug the gap when you don't have Carvajal. You don't need to use Vasquez in that case. You can use Cancelo when you don't have Mendy. You can use Cancelo. Okay, you don't want to bring in someone on loan. Maybe you don't want to do business with Manchester City. Understandable. Maybe Cancelo's wages are really high. Okay, you have a player that you can bring in for 5 million. You have the buyback clause. That's Fran Garcia. He's there. You can just trigger the clause and bring him back. But no, Real Madrid doesn't want to give any problems to Rayo Vallecano. Relationship, relationship. You want to go Crofilles, you can go without winning the league, Champions League or Copa del Rey because you don't have the team um, depth wise to fight in those competitions. We are already 5 points behind Barcelona. But no, relationship comes first before competing in the league, Champions League, and Copa del Rey. Relationship. So no, they won't go for Fran Garcia. So let's take it from the top. There are other rumors came out yesterday, and it gets worse and worse. So Libertad Digital, this is a source who has confirmed that Dusan Vlahovic indeed wants to join Real Madrid, but Real Madrid have said no. Dusan Vlahovic, the striker who plays for Juventus, who is highly rated, everyone knows Dusan Vlahovic. He has offered himself to Real Madrid, and Real Madrid have said no. For what reason? Who knows? But it's their logic. We have players like Mariano Jovic wasting the space in the squad, but you won't go out and bring in Dusan Vlahovic. Bravo, great job. You're gonna run Benzema to the ground, and when he doesn't perform, we're screwed because Vinicius has been misfiring in front of the goal most of the time after the World Cup. Before the World Cup, he was doing better, even though not like last season, he was doing better. But after the World Cup, he has been missing many chances, goal scoring chances in the Real Sociedad match. If he had his shooting boots on, we would have come out with 3 points. But no, he was misfiring everything. He missed two really good goal scoring chances. I would say one of them was uh, clear goal scoring chance, not one of them, two of them. So that's that. You don't want Dusan Vlahovic. Why would you want Dusan Vlahovic? There is no reason to want Dusan Vlahovic. Like they are banking on bringing in a kid in 20, I think 20. What's this? Yeah, 2024 summer window. Endrick, who will be 18 then, you cannot really rely on an 18-year-old. He will need, like Vinicius and Rodrigo, 2 3 years to get assimilated, to get used to the Spanish league, the Spanish culture, to get his life sorted out. When he's 21, 22, maybe then you can start using him regularly in the first team. So what are you going to do for those 2 3 years? Why don't you go and bring in Dusan Vlahovic for those at the very least 3 years? Like if you bring in Dusan Vlahovic in the summer transfer window, we know that he is a really, really good striker. There are not many strikers on the market. There is Haaland, there is Victor Osimhen from Napoli. Those are the kind of strikers you would be looking for. Dusan Vlahovic is a traditional striker. He can easily, with Benzema getting, you know, aging. You can easily share the minutes with Dusan Vlahovic in the summer transfer window. We can bring him in. He is offering himself to Real Madrid. Juventus got point direction. They cannot qualify for the Champions League next season. So understandable. Players like Dusan Vlahovic is offering themselves to Real Madrid, but we don't want them. We are Real Madrid. We don't need any players. So no to Dusan Vlahovic. No, we don't need him. Thank you. So this is the report from Marca I was talking about. Real Madrid's board believes signings made in the winter transfer market turn against them. It also sometimes happens in the summer with Hazard, Jovic, and Mariano mentioned. Like, who can believe that signings cannot work? You ask it to every single club in the world. Not every signing is gonna work. That's how signings That's what happens. Not every signing you make is gonna work. If you make six signings, maybe three or four of them works well, and at least two of them don't work out well. It happens everywhere, everywhere. Sometimes the players cannot. Um, they have trouble getting assimilated in the country, in the culture, in the city, weather, lots of things like family problems, lots of things happens that the players don't settle in. Sometimes after changing teams, they suffer from confidence. Sometimes the confidence is low, they cannot perform, and when you move them on and they go to some other team where they have a better environment, maybe they perform. It happens everywhere. Signings made are not guaranteed to succeed, but you cannot stop making signings. If you are scared that maybe it won't work, maybe it will fail, if you were scared, then and you don't make signings, then yeah, your seasons are gonna turn out into failure anyway. Because right now Barcelona is 5 points ahead, and with the kind of injury problems we are getting, with the kind of form our team is in, regularly, I don't see us winning the league this season. In the Champions League, maybe if we get our shit right, if we get ourselves into the mentality, we can win the Champions League. I believe because in the Champions League this season, the heavyweights are suffering same like us. Manchester City, Bayern Munich, PSG, whoever is other, Chelsea, Liverpool, none of these teams I can say, none of you can say, no one can say confidently that they are in a really really great form, they are going to win the Champions League. None of them. Everyone is going through a slump after the World Cup. So if we get our shit together, we can make an assault on the Champions League. In the league, Barcelona has better squad depth, they are in better form, and we are already 5 points behind. With the kind of injury problems we are suffering, I don't give us much of a chance of retaining the La Liga. So let's go for the Copa del Rey, let's go for the Champions League. And after our board has already screwed us in the January transfer market by not bringing in a couple of players to plug some gaps, we cannot really look to win every single match. If we go out in the league, then we can 100% concentrate on the cup competitions. And if we win the Copa del Rey and Champions League, I would see it as a successful season. But then we would have to concede the league to Barcelona. And if we win both the cups, I am ready to concede the league, because in the league we still have 20 matches to go. Of course we can catch up to Barcelona. 5 points is nothing when there is 20 matches to go, but our squad is really really really, right now our squad depth is little. Hazard, Mariano, Odriozola, Jovic. These four players are out. So in attack, we only have Benzema, Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Asensio. Those are the four players for those three positions that Ancelotti trusts. So there is no depth there. Four players for three positions is no depth. In midfield, we have six players, so there is enough depth in the midfield, I would say. All right, we don't have a defensive midfielder when Chouameni is injured, but at least we can work in the midfield. In fullback positions, we don't have any depth. Vasquez is not a fullback, so I don't even consider him a fullback. As we said, Odriozola, Ancelotti doesn't trust him. So let's get out. Carvajal is totally finished. He's not ready-made for a top-level team anymore. He is just physically broken. He gets injured every other day. He cannot keep up. I don't really trust I don't trust Carvajal is going to give us anything much this season anyway. So in fullback positions, we don't have depth. We don't have our first choice fullbacks who can keep themselves fit anyway. So right back and left back, we are totally threadbare. So in center back positions, we have depth. So the only places we have depth are goalkeeper, center back, and midfield. So our attack has no depth, and our fullbacks are really, really poor. With this kind of squad, you cannot go all in. You cannot go for the league and the cups. That's not just possible physically for the players. It's too, you need better depth. Like when Zidane was fighting for the league and the Champions League, I remember we were playing our B team in the leagues, and during the knockout competitions, we were playing our A team in the Champions League knockout competition, and that's how we were able to beat Barcelona to the league and win the Champions League because Barcelona was going toe to toe with us in the league. It was hard job, and this season Barcelona is going toe to toe, and they are better. They are better informed. They are playing better football. They have better squad depth. So when they are like this, and we need to make up the points gap and beat them to it. We have to give our all in every single league match. So we don't have any B team. You have to play the A team in the Champions League knockout games, in the Copa del Rey semifinals against Barcelona, in the league because we are already behind them. We don't have any points cushion. So you don't have anything there that you can fall back on. You have to play your first choice players every single game, and they're gonna get tired, they're gonna get exhausted, they're gonna get injured. That happens. The accumulating of minutes, it's normal math. People players are gonna get injured normally. So that's it. Let's check out some other updates a little bit because there were lots of updates yesterday. Many players have been offered to Real Madrid in recent days, but none of them were good enough for the club, according to Marca. Yeah, we have players like Lucas Vasquez, Carvajal, Odriozola, Mariano, Hazard, but players are not good enough for Real Madrid. This board of Real Madrid are smoking some really, really strong stuff. They are so arrogant and so delusional. I don't know. They just believe they are some kind of geniuses in planning, and they think their plans are the best in the world. They are even overriding the whatever Carlo Ancelotti is asking for. Like Carlo Ancelotti asks for forwards, they are saying no because they know more than a person who was one of the best midfielders in his time in Serie A and who is one of the best managers in history. They think they know better than Carlo Ancelotti what he needs for his team to perform to his utmost capabilities. They think they know better than Carlo Ancelotti. If you were that arrogant, I don't know. Because if we don't win any of the big competition this season, you can bet your house, you can bet anything that they are going to sack Carlo Ancelotti and totally blame everything on him. They are going to do those newspaper and media campaigns against Carlo Ancelotti, gonna give such shit rumors like, players didn't like that, players didn't agree with this. They're gonna bring in players like Hazard, Mariano, Odriozola, this kind of shit that, yeah, he didn't use the squad properly, he didn't use Castilla players. He's the manager who got you the Champions League. He's the manager who got you the league. And you think he doesn't understand football? You think he is some amateur that you can just say what he needs to do? Like when he asks you for forward signings, you tell him just look in the Castilla. What do you think he needs? He wants to win the Champions League. He wants to win the league. He is not here to nurture the Castilla players for you. I understand that if there is a plan of like using them in some insignificant matches where he can start using them from the, I guess he can see how can they can do during the summer friendly matches and stuff like that, so he can understand if they can work in his team. But he's not going to risk his job because you guys are going to sack him. He's not going to risk his job using Castilla players when he needs to win every single match to get back into the La Liga, to keep up to Barcelona, to win the competitions like Champions League, like Copa del Rey. He's not going to use them. Why would he risk it? You guys are going to sack him. You won't listen that, yeah, he gave Castilla players chances. You guys won't listen. You will just blame everything on Carlo Ancelotti. And then you say, yeah, then you will go buy some players because that's what always do you always do. This board always gets humiliated. They have some kink, I think, like humiliation kink. When we get humiliated in the El Clasico, when we get humiliated in the Champions League or in the league, that's when they go and do some stuff every time. They're not proactive. They're some reactive assholes in the board, like the JAS, Jose Angel Sanchez. He's one of the assholes who make these kind of stupid decisions, shit decisions, and stuff like that. I'm sure he's the one. He's a businessman. He's not someone. I think he's the managing director of Real Madrid. Real Madrid doesn't have a traditional sporting director. So that is the problem. There are no proactive plans. They just go with players they think will work on Real Madrid. And that's it. That's it, really. There is no proactive plan to, yeah. Let's check out some other reports that came out yesterday because every single report is infuriating for a Real Madrid supporter. Real Madrid have decided to not go for any players this winter because they see it as negative and with no results, according to Marca. They see it as negative. There is no positive. If you bring in Fran Garcia, if you bring in someone like Cancelo, if you bring in someone like Dusan Vlahovic, if you could bring someone like that, someone. I'm sure Dusan Vlahovic is for the summer, not winter transfer market. I don't think Juventus is going to let him go in the winter transfer market. But there should be some other options like it's Real Madrid. If you look around, you could have brought someone. So yeah, there is nothing positive in bringing some quality depth to back your manager. Yeah, there is nothing positive. It's totally negative. Okay. Real Madrid have Gvardiol in their side, but he is likely to stay at Leipzig post next summer. This is a strong option in 2024. So they want to bring in another center back in Gvardiol, and even then, next summer the more chances are of him staying in Leipzig. So it's a strong option for 2024. They are not even talking about next summer. 2024. This shitty board. Okay, let's see. Ferland Mendy is already out for 8 to 10 weeks. We already know that. He won't be fit until April, so he's gonna miss the matches against Liverpool for sure. And I think one of the if we somehow advance against Liverpool because Liverpool is shit themselves, then I think he's gonna miss one of the legs of quarterfinal to first leg of quarterfinal. Carlo Ancelotti wants Camavinga in the midfield, but he is short on options because Camavinga does not want to play as a left back. But it's likely he will play numerous games in that position this season. Camavinga trained as LB this morning, according to Diario AS and Esquirante. So now that we have some depth in midfield, we have to strip that depth from the midfield and use one of our players as a makeshift left back, like we are using Vasquez as makeshift right back. We are so poor. It's so negative to bring in some cover in the winter transfer market that it's a positive that we make one of our most talented young midfielders into a makeshift left back. And it's so infuriating. It's so stupid. It's so dumb from this board. Like you were ready to use Kamavinga as a left back, stripping away whatever cover we have in midfield, and just yeah, that's it. That's the planning of Real Madrid management. So, according to ABCES, Cancelo's agent of approached Real Madrid in addition to Bayern and Barcelona, no interest from the club. So, I already talked about it. So, it is confirmed that Cancelo had been offered to Real Madrid. Even if we didn't want to make our relationship bad with Rayo Vallecano by bringing in Fran Garcia, we could have just used Cancelo for 6 months because it's a loan with option to buy. You just use him for 6 months and send him back to Manchester City. Who cares? And if he really, really does well, does a great job, then you sign him for the right back position. But no, we don't need him. No, it's negative. It's not positive. It's negative. So, according to Relevo, Sergio Arribas was supposed to be a first-team player this season but didn't impress in the training sessions during the World Cup break. So, you cannot even blame Carlo Ancelotti. He saw the player during the World Cup break and he didn't like it. Even though I like Arribas, but Carlo Ancelotti is a world-class manager. If he doesn't like what he sees in his team, maybe Arribas can function in different team. He was doing well when Zidane called him up. So different managers, different play styles, different priorities. Carlo Ancelotti doesn't like him. I am not going to question Carlo Ancelotti. I'm not saying Sergio Arribas is a bad player, but Carlo Ancelotti doesn't want Sergio Arribas in his team, and you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a world-class manager. Okay, that's it. There were reports of Marco Asensio being pursued by PSG. PSG wanted him in the January transfer market. Real Madrid said no. So, if Marco Asensio wants to go to PSG, just go in the summer transfer window, man. You have 6 months in your contract, so just run down that contract and go. And I think it would be the best for Real Madrid if he goes, because then this shitty board will be forced to buy a right winger because they cannot make Asensio play as a makeshift right winger. He's not a right winger. He's never been a right winger. He doesn't feel comfortable playing as a right winger. He plays the best football when he's playing through the middle as a number 10. So I think whichever club he goes to, he should really look for a club where he can play as a number 10. That's where he will get to maximize his qualities and it will be best for his career instead of stupidly signing a contract extension with Real Madrid because we are just going to push him to the right hand side where he is not going to give us what we need, and it would be bad for him. It would be bad for Real Madrid. So I hope that he doesn't agree to the contract extension, whatever we are gonna give him, whatever contract we are gonna present to him. Hopefully, he doesn't sign it and just goes to some other club. And this shitty board is forced with a choice, because they will be forced with that choice to bring in a right winger. But maybe they will just bring in Brahim Diaz and use him as a right winger, even though he is another player who is better to play from the middle, through the middle. So we will see. So some good news, Ceballos. Real Madrid are preparing a good offer for Ceballos to convince him to renew. And Ceballos is a really midfielder. When he came to Real Madrid, I liked him from the get-go. He had something. Zidane didn't like him in his team. Just as I said, Carlo Ancelotti doesn't like Sergio Arribas in his team. Zidane didn't like Dani Ceballos in his team. But Dani Ceballos is a player who can break the lines. He is a midfielder who breaks the lines, who is really good with the ball at his feet, who can dribble, who can find those crucial passes, those through balls. So hopefully we can keep Ceballos, because whatever news I'm getting, it looks like Bellingham isn't going to come to Real Madrid. He's going to go to Liverpool or Manchester City. I think his family wants to relocate to England. I think they want to go back to their homeland, and you cannot blame them. They already spent some time in Germany. Out of, you know, he's still really young. I think he's what, 19 years old or something. So even if he stays in England for the next 4, 5, 6 years, he will be only 24, 25. Then he can make his jump to, if he wants to, you know, play in Spain or Italy or wherever. He will be in his prime back then, and he can easily go to um, Real Madrid, Barcelona, whichever team will want him then. All right, so I'm gonna continue to see some whichever other reports came out yesterday. Chouameni and Carvajal will be available for the game versus Valencia. Alaba is a doubt. He trained alone today. According to Aranca Rodriguez, a really reliable reporter for Real Madrid related news. So Chouameni and Carvajal will be available, even though they will be available. I don't think they will be starting the match, because Carlo Ancelotti won't. Um, I think Carlo Ancelotti is not going to risk them. You know, they just came out of an injury. I don't think they have the match fitness yet. I think we will go with the same kind of lineup that we went against Real Sociedad, because even though we drew the match, it was because Vinicius was so toothless in front of the goal. We played really good football. We should have won that match. So the team that started against Real Sociedad, I think that should continue the match against Valencia. So here it is, according to Maddock Mirror, who works for the Mirror Football, I'm guessing. Jude Bellingham is still leaning towards the Liverpool transfer this summer, and all the hints that are coming out are he's leaning towards Liverpool or Manchester City. I would keep Manchester City in the race too, because they do a lot of good work behind the scenes. Their people are really smart, and Pep Guardiola, they will be in the Champions League next season. Liverpool, I don't think they are going to qualify for the Champions League next season. So Manchester City are always gonna be competing for the league and the Champions League. You cannot say the same for Liverpool, because their board doesn't back their manager enough. So that's why I think that Jude Bellingham is definitely going to Liverpool. He's not going to come to Real Madrid. I think it's not his decision only. I think his family has some say in it too, and his family, I think, would like to return to England. And as I said, maybe in 4, 5, 6 years, when he has done what he wants to do in England, then he will want to move to a club like Real Madrid, Barcelona, wherever he wants to go. So that's it for today. That's all the news and updates I wanted to talk to you guys about. Thank you for watching. Have a good day, night, wherever you are. See you next time. Hala Madrid.